You are guaranteed to love these 15 Christmas crafts. Keep watching. I'm Brandy, and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome back. This is a compilation video. The first project, we're going to use a thrifted red Santa. I've got two different types of ribbon to choose from, both from Dollar Tree and red, a foam block, a basket of any type. This is my little frosty hat. This is a thrifted piece of candle ring and some small ornaments. I'm also going to be using a pick from some florals. Now, the first thing you need to do when you thrift anything is to give it a good cleaning, brushing, look for anything that needs to be repaired, fix it. I'm going to take the hanger off of here, adjust all these little tinsely branches that are on the tree to make them look in order and in shape. And then I'm going to also work on the front of this little hat basket by kind of zhuzhing around my greenery and then taking off the little silk pieces. We're going to add some more into it later that look a little better. A little tip for you, if you're using any type of a basket, if you have sort of a soft but stiff brush, you can use that to clean things. This vacuuming is one thing, but using a little brush will help get all the dust out of the little cracks. So any little scratches on here, which there's a little bit of damage where the paint is chipped off, I'm just going to go over it with the marker, or you could use some black paint. I'm going to trim down that foam where it will fit into the top and just push it in. Now I'll take the remaining pieces or the scraps and just push them in all around here. This is going to make a little platform for us. We'll be able to attach any greenery into it, and we'll also be able to use it so that Santa has a place to stand. So what you see me using is greenery that I have had for a while now. I get most of my greenery from the Goodwill bins. Thankfully, there are people who donate rather than throwing that stuff in the trash, and I love to have it. So it works out for me greatly. So I'm just going to sort of center that candle ring in the middle, and then I'm going to take those pieces of evergreen and go around like in an X shape or a north, south, east, and west kind of shape. And rather than gluing this down with hot glue, I am using these floral pins to keep them in place. If you don't have floral pins, you can use scrap pieces of floral, like the little greenery branches that you might cut your flowers off of. You can just bend those like a bobby pin, and you can just push those down in there and it will hold it in place. Now this little piece was sort of broken on its stem, so I'm just gluing it to the piece around it so it will stand up and be nice and pretty. Now the opening in there is perfect to stand Santa in. So I'm just going to stand him up in the middle. See where I would like him to be positioned, keeping in mind the front of my basket so that everything's facing the right direction. And then I'm going to use some more of those pins to just put around his boot and into the foam. And this way, if I choose to use him again on something else, I can take him off with no damage at all. Now I'm going to start putting on any other little pieces that I think would look good in here to give it that beautiful, rich woodland look that we are all loving so much this year. Some of these little pieces of branch have snow on those, and some of them have pine cones. Some do not. It's going to give it some variety. I am not looking for a symmetrical arrangement for this piece. So it's just going to be here and there, depending on what I feel like looks good, to me at the time. And I recommend that you do the same thing when you do yours. Make it your own and do it on a budget, right? That's what we do on this channel. Okay, so now I'm just going to take some pieces again of that same thing. I've cut these into smaller pieces that I can put here and there, and then I glue them in place just to give it a little more richness and a little more, I don't know, there's something about the woods and the forest that's just so comforting to me any time of year. It's just beautiful, and the sounds and the smells, it's a gorgeous thing, right? It's a gorgeous thing. So I like to embellish with that as much as I can because it's peaceful and comforting to me. It brings me joy. If you prefer not to use as much greenery, you certainly do not have to. You can do some little ornaments. You could do anything you like, really. You could cover this entire thing in little ornaments if you wanted. So now the front of this little basket hat looks nice and lush like the top. Now I'm going to make one little pick, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'll just take this one piece that I've already taken all the florals off of. I'll take 3 ornaments, and I'm just going to do a green, a white, and a red. Pull off the little caps and hangers, and they'll fit over the ends of these. All you have to do is add some hot glue. Yes, I know those are the 3 I want because I like them staggered like that. So now I can cut the other pieces off because we won't need those, and I don't want them to be on there and in the way, so we will cut those off in a moment. You can add some hot glue on the stem and then just push it straight down into there. It'll rest on the bottom of the ornament, and the glue will dry, and you'll have a beautiful little pick with ornaments on it. Or if you prefer, you can just put some glue on your ornament and poke it down in your florals. Now that's looking much better. I know I want to put a bow on here, so I'm going to take this red satin ribbon and just make a very simple shoelace bow. I like this color red with this arrangement because of the berries that are in that candle ring that are on the top where Santa is standing. You can certainly mix your reds though if you would like. So this arrangement is sort of a traditional, sort of a woodland. I don't know exactly how you would. I would like to say that I can't exactly put my creations into a box. It's a little bit of everything, right? But that's just how I like it. All right, so I'm going to trim this down just a little because I don't need that much length. And then I will poke it down in there beside Santa. And look at that. This brings me joy. And I hope that it brings you some joy too. Yes. The next one is the resting deer. I think you're going to like it. Again, we're going to have some ribbons here. Ribbons that coordinate with what we have. I've got some little picks. Had them for years. I usually use them in decorating. These I used in another project. You can see where I put them together with some little branch pieces. And then another stem of that same greenery. I've got this beautiful little deer that I got at Dirt Cheap. And if you're familiar with Dirt Cheap, you see you can sometimes they're damaged, sometimes they're, but if you get them on a really good deal, it's worth it. You're not going to see the damage on the deer the way I fix it. And then this piece, I think this was given to me by somebody, but I don't think I thrifted it myself. Now, I don't want to put moss on here, but you certainly could. I'm going to cover this with just some green paint. Doesn't really matter. If I had dark green, I would have used it. You're really not going to see it. I just wanted to cover up the wood color on the top. I'm going to use some double stick mounting tape. You can get alien tape. You can get whatever you want to use here, or you can just use hot glue. But if I do it this way, I can take that deer off and use them again. So I'm just putting it sort of at an angle, but you see how well this holds? It works very well. I'll pluck this branch apart like I did the rest of them and just pull it into pieces. And I kind of like to look and see if I'm doing more snowy, then I want to have more snowy pieces together. If I'm doing more that are just green, I like to have just the green together, if that makes sense. It just seems to have more of a smooth look. So I'm going to go around and make this look almost as if this deer is resting in the wintertime. He's resting in a little hidden place because that's what deer like to do. They don't lay right out in the open. They like to kind of put themselves where they're protected. So that's what this little deer is doing. He is hiding right there in this evergreen. I'm going to put just pieces here and there. I start off going in one direction, but you can, if you have pieces that you want to stand up, you can do it that way. If you have pieces that are on a pick and you want to lift that deer up to make it higher, you can put it on some foam and then you can press your pieces into the foam. But these are like a plastic. They don't have a hard pick. I would have to add picks to them. So I just want to show you an option in case you don't have that. But you see how the deer is just kind of, it looks like he's just laying there in the branches, and I love that. I think it's very pretty, and I love that deep dark green on this deer. That's why I got this deer. I was like, I have to have that. He's gonna look beautiful in my room. Gotta have him. So this piece of wood worked out, and the greenery, everything just worked out perfectly for this little deer. If you don't have one, maybe you have a deer that's white, or you get your little deer from Dollar Tree, you can spray paint it, or you can chalk paint it. You know, you can change things up with paint. It'll really make a big difference. And 1 can of spray paint goes a pretty long way when you craft with it. All right, so I've taken some little bits and pieces off of the other picks that I had, and I'm going to use those here and there. I like that this, I think it's like a Dusty Miller or a lamb's ear. It's very similar to the velvet that is on the deer, and that beautiful bluish color that is in that green just looks so pretty with this, I think. You could, of course, stop here if you would like, but you know, I'm going to add some more to it because we want to have a snack available for the deer. We're going to have some berries. I'm going to put these little berry branches right next to the lighter green foliage that we have, and just add a little hot glue, and it'll stay in place just here and there. There's really no pattern to the way I'm doing this, but they're like little clusters here and there. So pretty. Oh, I hope you like him as much as I do. I really love this little deer. And all of these projects that I'm doing today are not difficult projects at all to do. One takes a little more time, but they're really not complicated. Okay, so now I have some of this beautiful, rich, deep wine colored ribbon. It's like a wine or a burgundy. And I'm just gonna wrap it around the deer's neck and make the same bow that we made before for the other project that we finished. And I'm just gonna tie this around his neck. It is so rich and elegant. I can just really see this on a table with some candles around it. And y'all, the way I'm calling these centerpieces, these are not big swag-like centerpieces. These are smaller. I personally have a very old farmhouse table that is round. You can open it with leaves. You can add 2 leaves to it, but for now, it's round all the time, year round. So I can put in the middle of that something small and round and still have room on the table to serve meals when we want to eat. I love the way that this turned out. So if you've got a smaller table, you don't want to take up as much space, this is going to be perfect. The next project is going to be our faux metal pine cone. I've got a gray and a brushed silver here. 2 different colors. I have this pine cone that I thrifted. Love it, but it is in a silver color, and we're going to change that. This mold that I also thrifted. This is going to be our base. And this is one of the 2 sets of rings that you can get at Dollar Tree. And this ribbon is from Dollar Tree. It's like a paper ribbon. So I know that I need to do something with this beautiful cone. And I want to make this look the same way that the bottom looks. I want this all to look like it goes together. So I'm going to start covering up the light shiny silver with some of this, I think this is medium gray paint. And I'm going to go all over this pine cone. Now I'm not going to do it like heavily to cover up every single thing. That's not my idea. I want it to look more like something that is galvanized or aged naturally, like the mold that is underneath it. You get what I'm saying with that? So I'm going to just brush this over here, and I'm using a rough brush because it gives me that kind of skippy look or the chippy look that I'm looking for. Now for this ring, I decided to use this paper ribbon to wrap it because it needs to be covered, and it's going to be easy to paint for one thing. And the color is already similar to what we're using with the grays and the, you know, the white and gray sort of color with the darker areas in it. You know what I mean. So I'm going to wrap it all the way around here, and then I'll glue it back on itself. And I want it to match. So I'm going to grab some more of that gray paint that we just used on the cone, and I'll start laying some layers down on top of this ring with the same chippy brush. I always start light. You know that. Y'all know that if you've been here a while. And I know that many of y'all always leave me sweet comments. So I know that y'all know I like to start off kind of light and then I build up gradually. Now I'm going to take some black after I've got as much as I think I need. I'm going to take some black because you can see the very dark areas in that mold. And I'm going to start just dry brushing that black all over and on the edges. And this I will build up as well until I get it the depth of color that I think will match as close as I can get. And I'm not a professional painter, so this is always just kind of play around with it until I get it the way I like it. But I think it looks pretty good. So once that cone has dried, I'm going to go back over it with a little bit of the dry brush. And also, again, same thing. I'm going to brush over it in light layers until I get it the consistency or the depth that I really like. And you can see already with me painting this how different it looks from where we started. Look at that. Yes. So we're going to add a little more black, mainly focusing on the tips of those cone pieces. And look at that. That's pretty darn close, right? Pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to use the opposite side. I'm going to add a little glue and my mounting tape. Now, the glue is not, you don't necessarily have to add it, but I want to be sure this doesn't move. I want to be darn sure it doesn't move. So I'm going to put 5 pieces of mounting tape on there. If you need some weight, if you have a heavier ornament that you use on top, or you use a topiary piece, go ahead and put some rocks or something to weigh it down so that this doesn't topple over, because it's going to be kind of wide. Then I'm going to press that mounting tape onto the edges of that beautiful mold until I feel like it's all locked in place. All right. Now the hole in the middle has to be addressed, so I'm just going to put a piece of cardboard paper on the bottom, just hot glue it on there, and then stuff the inside part with some paper towels until they reach the top. I'll fill that little well up with some hot glue, and then I can just put the cone right down in top of it. I'll push it in there, and it does go down into the hole just a little bit, and hold it in place until that glue sets up. It's going to take a minute, so be patient. But once it's done, it's going to look like that. Then we can start adding our greenery. When I look at this, it kind of reminds me of a fountain in a very old home. Doesn't that look like something? I just love that. I just love it. I have to say that since I have made it, it is one of the pieces that I think I'm most proud of, that I actually had the vision of it, and then it turned out better than I thought it would. So I'm very proud of this piece, and I hope that you like it and that somebody out there will try to duplicate this. All right, so I'm going to take a pick and I'm going to cut it apart. Same old, and I'm using the same picks over and over again. You know, I'm using the same type of greenery. You can change yours up. This is for demonstration purposes. Plus, I really like the way this foliage looks. I'm going to add it in so that all the way around it has this beautiful greenery. You can trim, cut, make sure everything is pretty much balanced, you know, in this one. And then I'll add some of these snowy branches. You can cut the ends if the branches are too long, but you want to need enough in there, since you don't have foam to attach it to, that the weight of itself will hold in that little opening. Then, of course, I'm just going to add hot glue, because what if you don't have foam, right? I'm going to show you options, y'all. Options to make it your own. Always, always. So I put my little snowy branches in here. And once I feel like everything is how I like it, I'll get a little bit of my Gorilla Glue, and I will start tacking a couple of the main pieces down. So the heavier pieces, the pieces that are on top that will hold the rest of them in place, just going to tack it down here and there to make sure nothing falls apart. And of course, if you're giving this as a gift, you definitely want to make sure that this does not fall apart. I was thinking with these centerpieces, they would be perfect to give as a hostess gift for someone who is making Christmas dinner. You know, if you don't have to do all the work and you want to show them that you really appreciate all the work that goes into that, you can bring them a little something like this that you made yourself, and how beautiful would that be on their table? I know I'd love it. Okay, the next one is going to be our cardinals. There will not be a Christmas that goes by that I don't use cardinals. Okay, so here's the dome that I have. And this little dome came from, originally from Target in the dollar spot. It was a $5 piece, but I got it at dirt cheap. A candlestick. This was a Pier 1 candlestick that I thrifted. No, IKEA. Then I have some more of those pieces of greenery, specifically with the snow. And I have 2 little ornaments. These are actually for the yard, and they are 2 different positioned cardinals. And then I'm going to use some of these pieces of wood from Dollar Tree. I'll take some of this brown paint and I'm going to spray paint the base and also the candlestick outside and let them dry completely. Then I'm going to attach these two pieces together. I know that I want to do them this way. Perfect. So I'm going to add some of my E6000 in 4 spots. And then I will be filling in with my hot glue. The hot glue is going to dry fast, so you always want to put that on last, right? You don't want that to set up too quick. I'm going to pull it to myself so I can get right over the top and try to eyeball that to get it exactly center. It helps with balance if you are centered. So give it a few minutes, let it set up, flip it over, and she's ready to go. That's beautiful, and it looks to me like it goes together, doesn't it? Yes. All right, so you can certainly use a branch if you have one, but you're going to need something with a wide base. I didn't have a branch with a wide enough base to hold this up, so I'm going to make one out of the pieces that I got from a bag at Dollar Tree. This is going to look sort of like a tree. I'm going to have 2 different elevations because the 2 birds are too wide to sit side by side, and I like to have a little dimension by raising one up and leaving one a little bit lower. So I'm just going to use my hot glue. You can use wood glue, whatever you like here, just to get those to stick together. And I'm going to add these, just stack them up on top of one another to make it look kind of like it's standing on a stump or a branch. Then I'll have one little pedestal for one bird, and the other little bird will get his spot on the flat spot. So once I know how I want them to sit, I'm going to go ahead and glue them on right onto their little bases. One here, and then I'll put the other one up here. I like these 2 little birds, and they have been in a lot of my videos. I do have a Cardinals video. I'll try to link that if I can recall. If not, and you want to see it, just let me know in the comments and I'll give you the link. Okay, now they're ready to go inside the dome. So I have to make sure that they fit. I already know that they do fit because I checked them beforehand, but this is how I check that. Now I'm going to put it in there. I will rock it back and forth just a tad. And then once you do that, if it's sitting flat down, you know that's where you can glue them. Make sense? If it's crooked and it's leaning, then that's not the right way to do it. You're going to have to adjust. Easiest way for me to do it is the way I just showed you. You can carefully take off the lid, leave most of it in place, and you just kind of pull up the side and press it back down. That way you put it in exactly the spot that you just had it in. Gonna add a little glue here, scoot it all the way over to the bird where it was, and just stick it in place. And while it's still wet, you can adjust just a little. Be sure that you are checking using your dome to make sure that you can still get everything in. Now with greenery is what we're going to add next, and there will be a way to check this, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. All right, now I'm just going to put these snowy branches in here and there, and this is just one of those things, I'm just doing it to my taste. I'm just adding some pieces in. It's going to look sort of like they're in the woods or they're in a tree, and they're just happy out there in the woods, and we're loving having a little peek in on their life. Now these little branches that I have are in like 3s. There's like a trio on each one. They do have a wide bottom where they connect to the wire, and you can use that part as a stand, but you're also going to need to support your pieces by just kind of gluing them, tacking them down to the bird, tacking them down to the branch that's behind them. You know, you can keep those things in place with that glue, and it'll look nice that way. Nothing will fall out. I don't suggest you glue everything flat down. You still want some movement in there. You still want it to look realistic, but you can certainly take little strategic areas and glue them in place. I love these. Cardinals mean so much to me. You know, I'm 50 years old. In my lifetime, I've been through a lot of loss in my family, and the older I get, the more it becomes kind of a common thing, unfortunately. And cardinals are a wonderful way to remember those who are gone on. You know, my mother-in-law, when I first came to this house where we live, she had a cardinal that used to visit all the time. He would just practically beat the window down upstairs all the time, and we would just laugh about it. She told me about the bird because I was like, what's hitting the window? And she said, it's those cardinals. It's that same cardinal. Well, we assume it was the same one. They would always beat on the window. So after she passed away, when I would see that cardinal, because he would still come, I would then think of her and how funny it was that that bird would do that. So just a little happy memory, helps me think about her around holidays. So we miss her and we love her. But there has been a lot of loss, and I think that cardinals are a wonderful way to represent and to, just kind of include those in your family who have moved on, your family or friends who have moved on. So just a happy way to look at it, I guess. Okay, so now we're going to put a top on here after we've got it looking beautiful. I'm just going to take the silver part and attach it to the top middle where the little dot is. They have a little dot on the top where they're formed. Then I'll add some glue and then put the ornament right down in there. To help me get the branches in, I'm going to take this little awl that I have. You can use a stick, or, I could have used a ruler, whatever. And just as I'm putting it down, just push little branches on the inside, and they're going to look great. And this is how this one is going to look. I absolutely love it. It's going on the fireplace. The next is going to be a Santa lantern. Okay, y'all, so here's my other Santa. This is a lantern that I thrifted. Isn't it gorgeous? Doesn't have a top. I don't know if it came with one or not. Here's the blue Santa that matches the red one we used. I'm going to use a little string of lights, a little moss mat. I'm going to cut this mat in somewhat of a oblong shape. I just kind of eyeballed how big I would need it to be to fit in the bottom. And I'm just going to trim it out to reach that measurement. Now when I put it in, it's going to push down underneath the little glass pieces and it will stay in place. And for now, I'm going to leave it this way, but we will glue it later. Okay, nice. Now I'm going to cut the hanger off of Santa, and I also cut the little knob off where we attach him to the string, and I'm going to adjust the limbs on his Christmas tree. Put all those little ornaments or berries to the front. I love the old world look of these Santas. They're so pretty. All right, so I'm going to add a little hot glue on his feet to hold him down because there's no foam, so there's no way to attach him with pins. Stand him up back there. I want to put him sort of toward the back so I can use the back window as a support for him. And then I'm going to start putting the lights in. Now, I should have put the lights in before I put Santa in, but I didn't glue him in, so I'm actually going to take him out in just a minute and show you. But you want to start off by putting in your lights before you glue Santa down. So see, I can pull him and the grass and everything comes up, or the moss. Now I can go in there with my little hands and get inside of my lantern. If your hands are too big, if your lantern is too small, just have somebody help you with this part. It's very easy. All I'm doing is going around and around in a rectangular shape until I get to the top of that front window. So the window that's in front of Santa is going to be the one that has the light behind it. I'm going to add just a dot of glue on control to put it against the inside wall because we want to kind of hover it. Now my lights came from TEMU. This is not a sponsored video, but I really, really love these affordable string lights because the controller is so small, you can hide it just about anywhere. It's even smaller than those cork tops. So yeah, really good thing. Now I'm going to add some glue in the bottom, tuck that moss right back down in there. Turn my light off so I don't waste my battery. And then we can start putting in some greenery in the bottom. This is not necessary, but you know me, I'm always trying to do a little more if I can. And why not? I have plenty of the greenery, may as well use it to embellish these beautiful centerpieces that can be given as gifts. So I know he needs to stick right against that wall for support. I'm just going to add some of that same clear mounting tape, just a tad, and stick it right to the glass. You won't even see it. Now Santa is very secure. So I'm going to make a swag for the top since this lantern does not have any top on it. I'm just going to make something. I'm going to trim off just a little bit of wire, and I'll take 3 of these picks that are the same as what we put on the inside floor, and I'm going to wrap these together almost in like a fan shape. Just going to wrap until they are tightly together. And then make sure that you disguise your little ends of your wire so nobody pokes their fingers and that it's not sticking out. I'll bend it so it can lay over the side of the lantern. and it will have sort of a rustic look, I think. It's very, this room is very Victorian looking to me. So I'm going to just take these pieces and just add a little bit of hot glue to cover up the original stem. So we're going in the opposite direction just to cover up the stem and the wire. I'm going to wrap that piece and glue it to the tip and just hold it in place for just a moment until it sets up. This is just all those little extra pieces of details that really give your projects that extra attention and make them look more high-end. Okay, no bald spots. All right, so now I know I like this and I like the direction, and I'm loving Santa. He is living his best life in that lantern. But I don't like the top so flat. So it's on wire, right? All we have to do is just bend it. Just flex those wires a little bit, and it'll give it just a bit of a dome on the top and give the look that I think I prefer. Now that I know it's exactly as I like it, I'll add some hot glue, and I'm using my Gorilla Glue here, and just take a couple of little areas to attach this on the sides to hold everything in place. I want to disguise this but not put glue on it, no more than we already did. So I'll just make sure that I can still get to it, but kind of camouflage it behind the branch. And this is how this one is going to look. Oh, I love him. He's so nice. Nice Santa. I hope I'm on the nice list. Are y'all on the nice list this year? I hope so. All right, so now I'm going to show you all 5 of those projects we did. Here's our red Santa. This would so easily fit on a round table. You could even put these on end tables if you wanted, but I think these are perfect little space saver arrangements for your table, or maybe even a Christmas brunch. I am so excited to have y'all stop by and visit with me today. Things are looking up, and I'm looking forward to the next year being a very good year, where we learn all kinds of good things about each other, and where the channel grows to the point where I'm bringing you all kinds of new ideas. I appreciate every kind comment, every extra tip, every bit of information that you give me to help me. It just means the world to me. You watching, you being here, the support that you give matters. Every thumbs up, every comment, everything. I appreciate you, and I am just humbled by the kindness that I feel and the love that I feel every day. It really means so much to me. If you're new to my channel, I would very much love if you would subscribe and hit the notification bell and give me a thumbs up if you really enjoyed the video. The first project is going to be a lantern swag. Now, I got this lantern, it was gifted to me actually from a lady who was moving, and she had a bunch of boxes of decor pieces, and she gave them to me. This one happened to still be working beautifully. It looks like it was barely touched. There's no dust on it. It's clean. It looks great. You can also thrift these or buy them. It's about 16 inches by maybe 8 inches. To give you an idea, I've got a deer pick in gold. Very pretty. 2 of these pieces of branches from TEMU, and then I have a pick that I got at the thrift store. It's a little squished, but you know, you can fluff these up and bring them back to life. Just, you know, turn everything around, make sure the front of the leaves are forward, space them out a little bit, and then fluff the flower out. Look how beautiful. It's got gold in the middle. I'm going to grab a couple of different ribbons. I got some wide, some thin, some are linen, and some are burlap. Look at this one. This one is very pretty. My husband ordered this for me on Amazon, I do believe. All right, so this is how I decide how long I want my swag to be. I'm going to go ahead and lay my base pieces together and then put them on the lantern in a way that I would like for them to be once I get my little swag part together, you know, so that it's on the top a little bit, but more of it hangs toward the bottom. So I'm just going to take the little wire that's already in there and wrap it around just to give it its first little way to connect it. Trim off anything that sticks out. Then if it's not solid enough, you can go ahead with some floral wire and reinforce it so that everything stays in place, because once you put the flower on and we add a bow, we're going to need to fluff and we don't want anything to fall apart. So I'm just going to wind this around, make sure the little pokey ends are flat, because if you're giving this as a gift, you certainly do not want to also give them a bill for bandages for poking holes in their fingers on Christmas Day. Right? Right. Okay, now I'm just going to hang this on here how I think it would look good. Someone had already put a little twist in the end and it worked great as a little hanger on my piece of branch. I'll take some more floral wire and connect these together. Now, if you want to use pipe cleaners, you can. If you want to use zip ties, you can. Now I'm getting an idea. Is it going to stay there long enough? I'm going to add more to it. How am I going to arrange this flower? I'm just going to move it around a little bit to see what is pleasing to the eye. This is like a velvet texture on this beautiful poinsettia. It's really rich and beautiful. Then I'll take that gold deer and just push him down where they're already wound together. It happens to be on a pick, so you can actually, it's like a metal piece. You can actually reposition that, bend it so it leans forward, and that's what I want to do so that there's no gap between the back of that flower and the branches. I want the deer to stand out a little bit. Now the piece of pick that this is on is very stiff. There's no way I'm going to wind that around, so I'm just going to take some floral wire, make a little hook out of it so it goes through easily, and then I will start twisting that in place with that. I just kind of keep my hand on it until I feel like it's caught in there. Then you can reposition it a little bit and add some hot glue, cut off edges. You know how you do it. Make sure everything is beautiful and secure. Especially when gift giving, you want to make sure that this is going to hold up. Now what I have is Gorilla Glue, but you can certainly use something else like E6000 to keep everything in place for years to come. Moving on down that swag branch, I'm going to add another piece to hold that pick from the deer in place. But you could always cut it off if you wanted to. It just gives it a little more stability, so I'm going to leave it. I'll cut off the edges, make sure that the twisted part is pushed inward so no one cuts their fingers, because after Christmas they could remove the swag and use that lantern in another way. Now I want to make a bow, but if that's not your thing, it's totally okay. I'm going to stretch out these two pieces and decide what I want to do for a bow. So at the 18-inch mark here, I'm just going to put my finger down so I know where my length is, and I'm going to fold it over so that we have a 9-inch loop. I'm going to fold again because we already have that measurement. We don't have to use the ruler again. Just keep folding until you get 2 loops on the left, 2 loops on the right, and you can just look to make sure. I'm not going to put tails on this part yet. We're going to do separate tails, so I'm just going to cut it off. I'll take the next ribbon, and we're going to go down to 16 inches for this one. Grab that spot, fold it over, and we're going to make 8-inch loops. Same process, fold and fold and fold until you get 2 loops on each side, and trim that down. Okay, I'm just going to put those together so I get an idea and it looks good. Going to go down another 2 inches to 14, and we're going to make some loops with that burlap. Same thing, 2 on each side. This is not a difficult bow, y'all, and you can definitely use scraps if you want to use scraps to make this. I'll cut that off, and then I'll take the smallest ribbon. There's some similar to this at Dollar Tree. We're going to go down to 12 inches, which will make 6-inch loops. And in this one, we're going to do, going to wrap it and wrap it and wrap it. I did 4 where there were 2 on each side, and then I cut 1 in half because I wanted to make it be 3. So totally up to you. You can do 1 loop on one side and 2 on the other to spare your time. I'm going to stack these up almost like a little pyramid. Everything's centered, and then I will use a zip tie. I'm going to put it on top, flip it over, and then feed this through. Now, right before I cinch it all the way down, I'm going to pleat it just slightly with my hands and then squeeze it very tightly. We'll trim off the excess. Then I'm going to take a thin piece of floral wire and feed underneath there because, as usual, I did not put anything to attach it to on there before we put on the zip tie. But a thin piece of floral wire will get right down in there easily for you. So don't worry if you forget. I always forget. Okay, so to make the tails, I am going to go with 18 and 4, which makes 22 inches. So we will have a 22-inch tail here. I'm going to take the next piece of ribbon and go down by about 2 inches, and we're going to step down just like we did with the bow. See, I've moved the ruler and now I'm just going by my eye. And then again. We got all 4 pieces. I'm going to stack those in the exact same way that we did with the bow, the same pattern. I love the different textures all together and the different prints and some solid in there. I think it looks very nice, very woodland. And very on point for the style that, you know, most people are going for, seems to be going for this holiday season. Loving the woodland look. All right, so I bent it so I would see right where my crease was in the middle, and then I'm going to take a zip tie, go around that middle, make sure everything didn't, you know, make sure it's all there, not slipped out of place, and then I'm going to cut that part off. I'm just going to flex and bend it in half. Then I can attach it with the same piece of floral wire that's on the middle of the bow. Okay, now you can draw a little bit of attention to the bow tails and cut those as slants, or you may dovetail them if you would like. I just like a little something done to the tails rather than leaving them raw and blunt. Then I'll get my placement back. I can bend a little bit because we still have the wire that's down the length of here. Then I'm going to take a piece of floral wire to attach that down. And I'm just going to do it right around the neck part, or you could call this the top part, wherever you want to put it, as long as it's attached. And then I'm pushing the little ends down so that, again, no poked fingers. And then you can fluff and you can arrange a little bit till it gets to be the way you like it. Then I'm going to grab that bow we made and attach it down with the same piece of wire that we had left that we connected all of our elements together with. So I'll pull it tight and then twist it around and lock it in place. Then we're going to start fluffing our bow, and you'll need to stay tuned to the end of the video to see how it looks once it is all fluffed out and the light is lit and it is ready to be presented as a gift to a loved one. You can do this, remember, with thrifted items, with scraps. Maybe you have a lantern in your house, it's not your style anymore, but maybe that would be perfect to make for Christmas to give to somebody that you love, and you'll save a lot of money doing it. All right, the next project is going to be wood toasters. I have some dishwasher safe Mod Podge, the squeegee and the brush for Mod Podge. I have some napkins from Dollar Tree, whatever print you like best. And then I have 2 of these little, it's like a little sitter decor piece. They came from Target originally. All right, I'm going to use sheepskin and a brush, and I'm going to paint the entire top sides of this project. Not the bottom, but you certainly can if you're given as a gift. Let them dry. Then I'm going to take the plies apart on the towel or the napkin. I can put this aside for another project or throw it away or use it. And then I'll take the napkin and press it down. What I'm doing is the napkins stay together by little crimps or little dots, like little raised braille dots. And I'm going to push those down and smooth them out. And they will if you take your time and be careful and gentle with it, because it is very thin as one ply. So just be gentle and get those spots out so they don't show up on your finished project. Can y'all see I had a fan blowing? Now this is why we put it over white. Can you see the difference between the white and no white background? Whichever way you like it, you go ahead and do it that way. I'm going to add some Mod Podge onto my little coaster. And now these are not the exact same size. They are not. They're the same height. One of them is more of a rectangle and the other one is almost an exact square. So either way, doesn't matter. We're going to use them. Now, if you have something else that you can use, like the little tiered tray pieces, you can paint over them and use those. Just be sure you use some type of water resistant Mod Podge, which makes the dishwasher safe perfect. So I'll find a section that I really like on this paper towel or this napkin. And again, I don't know if I even mentioned this, but it does have little words written in cursive like Noel and Joy. I want to make sure that I catch at least one word in there. After I've got it squeegeed down, I'm going to just cut off the big piece on the side so I don't tear it, because I'm going to use that for the other side. I'm slightly going to crease it. Now remember, this is very fragile, so just be careful when you do this. Be very light-handed when you do this. The glue is still wet, and I'm going to just press down on the edges and start pinching and pulling away from the coaster. Easy to do, but if you don't trust yourself, flip it over where it is face down on the table and try pulling it off. But that's not going to work if you use too much glue, right? Got to be careful. So now, just using an emery board on a clean edge, I'm going to start sanding off downward and away from the project. And we're going to get a nice, pretty clean edge by doing this. Y'all, I just got back from Mexico and I feel absolutely wonderful. We went to Cozumel and we went to Progreso, and our tour guides were fantastic, and we just enjoyed our excursions so much. I went with my sister and 2 of my cousins, and this is one that is definitely going to be remembered for the rest of our lives. And I hope they enjoyed it as much as me. Okay, now we're going to use the same process with the next one. I sped it up just a little bit. But this way you know exactly what you're doing, because, again, I cannot stress how gentle you have to be or you will tear this off. So just, take your time on this one. But I think the payoff is really nice because they end up looking store-bought. I'm trying to get as many wrinkles as I can out carefully. You may still have a wrinkle or a bubble because, that happens. It'll just give it more of an aged look. We're going to call it that, right? Yeah, you did it on purpose, right? You did it on purpose. So same process here. We're going to sand off, make that nice and clean around the edges. By the way, if you're thinking of using a different colored paint underneath, I would steer you toward using something that is very light creams and whites, because if you use something darker, you are not going to be able to see the detail in the beautiful napkin. So just keep that in mind, okay? And it will be more sheer if you do it without any paint on it. You'll see through it. Look at these. These are so cute. Okay, after that's dry, I'm going to go back over it with my Mod Podge just to make sure that I had sealed everything in. It takes about 20 days as cure time for these to get them definitely ready to give as a gift and to be waterproof. So keep that in mind. You might want to make these today. But they don't cost a lot of money, and they're very, very sweet. And just think, you could do one coaster for each person in your family with a couple of different packs of napkins to make a little something for everybody that you love. People need coasters for Cokes and water and coffee and hot chocolate. You could even put this in a hot chocolate gift bag. Very cute. Then, after they are dry, they look like this. Go ahead and paint your back sides. Of course, I'm going to use ribbon, a little piece of this holly, and then a little burlap bag. The bag was thrifted, but you can find these pretty much anywhere now. All right, so we're going to make a package for this. We're going to package these up. I'm putting those in there. I'm going to wrap them in tissue, fold it over. I'm going to put it in my burlap bag. We're going to get this ready to be given as a gift, right? From the start to the finish, I'm going to show you how to give this as a gift. I know I want the holly to hang down. So I'll just put that there, push it aside, and we'll get started on a bow. Now this ribbon is not wired, and it is from burlapfabric.com. I got this last year and used it in some crafts, and I'm going to use the remainder of the ribbon in a big floppy bow. This is very easy to tie. This is a simple bow to do. This is like a shoestring bow, so don't stress about it being difficult to do. And if you just want to put the holly with no bow, you can certainly do that. You could even pop a candy cane on here if you wanted to, as a little extra sweet right through the middle of the knot. So all you see me doing now is adjusting the length of the loops by pulling the tails of the bow. once it is the way that we like it. I'm going to add a little hot glue right up there to hold it in place. We can dovetail the ends or cut them at a slant, and you can also use smaller ribbon. You don't have to use the 1.5 inch like I have here. I'm going to cut that off. The fabric is very similar in this bow as what's in that bag, which makes it wonderful. And this is really not a burlap bag. This is like cotton. It's not burlap. So I'm going to hot glue it in place, and then to slip it under, trim it off just a little bit so that it fits under there a little more snugly. Just cutting the cap off there. A little bit of hot glue, tuck it right in. And this is ready to go under the tree for somebody on Santa's nice list. This is such a cute gift. Plus they get the gift of the bag. You can watch my videos on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. It's free to subscribe. I'll see you in the comments. Okay, for the next 2 projects, we're going to use a cup, a tart pan, some sprinkles or glitter. We're going to use a little bit of ribbon. I have cinnamon stick here. You can get yours at Dollar Tree. You can also get mini pine cones at Dollar Tree. Sometimes they're in the little bags with other like little potpourri or whatever. You can use those. And then I'm also going to get 2 candles, one for each project, from Dollar Tree. The first is going to be the candle and the cup. I've never made a candle on my channel. This is not an original idea by any means. Lots of people do candles, but it's my first time, so I wanted to share the experience with you if this is your first time. I'm going to melt the candle. I'm going to use the wax that is already on there to fix it to the bottom of this little metal cup. I'll pull up the wick, gently twist it around so it doesn't come apart from the bottom, and just lay it off to the side so it's not in the way. I'm going to take some cinnamon essential oils. I put about 25-30 drops into this candle. And the candles shrink significantly once you light them. They end up not even covering half of the jar. So just so you know that. I'm going to mix in my scent. You can use whatever scent you like. If you like fir or pine or evergreen of any type, you can use that. Now for this little metal cup, which I thrifted, it took an entire candle. So I'm going to pour that in. While it's still hot and melty, I'm going to drop in broken pieces of peppermint stick. This is actual real peppermint stick. And when you break it, the smell is beautiful. It was just heavenly. It's not artificial at all. It's different. It's different. I'm going to add some pine cones in here, almost like they're frozen in ice. Just going to push those around, and then I'm going to grab some pine from my backyard. I'm going to cut this pine into little bits and pieces and let them fall right into that wax. Down, down, down it goes, right into the wax. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to. And keep in mind, you don't want to put the wood in there. It could be flammable. So, this is a candle and it's in a safe container. You just do your research to make sure that you do everything as safe as possible. This is just me. This is mine, and you just take inspiration from it. I wanted to use a little bit of what I already have, and I thought the pine and the cinnamon would smell wonderful together. Okay, we'll set that one aside. We're going to do a candle and a mold. So these are the same that you've seen me use in the little tart pan video. So a mold or a tart pan. I'm going to use a little bit of Gorilla Glue to attach this one down, just to show you some options of ways I've seen it done. I got it right in the middle. I'll take another little stick or kebab stick. You can use a pen, you can use a paintbrush, whatever you want to use. I'm just going to give it a light twist, just to be sure that it doesn't fall down into the wax once I walk away to let it dry. This time I'm going to add a little less of the drops, probably, I don't know, I'm pretty close there, probably, yeah, I was getting near the end of the bottle, so there's probably about 15 drops in there. This candle may actually end up being stronger than the other one. Then I'll swish it around a little bit, and I'm going to pour it into here. I'm not going to fill it all the way to the top. Once those candles have set up just a bit, enough to get like a hard surface on the top, we'll start working on them together. Now we're going to dress the top of both ones of these candles, and we're going to do it a little bit differently on each one. I want to give you ideas and options, and if you're making candles for everybody, just know that you can personalize those. So the wax here is what was left from the tart candle. I'm going to add enough to make almost like a little circle or the center of a flower here. Then I'm going to grab a little bit of this. Now look, y'all, this is edible. I had no idea. I thought this was chunky glitter, but it's actually edible glitter. It is tiny gold and silver stars. But it looks so pretty in here, and it doesn't matter that it's edible. It's going to get burned anyway, right? It might even be a safer option. Of course, if you don't feel like you need to burn these, you don't have to. You can smell them, and they smell wonderful without even burning them. Okay? Now, I'm going to add a layer on the top of this candle. We left room, so it's good. I'm going to take Epsom salt and add in here so that it looks like ice, so that it looks like what we're looking at is a river that is under ice, right? We're walking through the woods and it's a little spot full of ice. Now I'm going to cut off my wicks to leave them about a ½ inch long. This is how this one is going to look, and I will show you how to decorate both of these for gift giving. And then this is how this one's going to look. We're going to shake off the extra once we know that it is set up well. Take that off, and look how pretty. Ugh! I will be making more candles, y'all. Certainly will. Alright, so now here's some Dollar Tree ribbon that I have, and I thought, going along with the whole Wonderland theme, we're going to use this beautiful ribbon with the pine cone and the little birds. Make a little bow. We're going to put this right on the side, because if we want to give this as a gift and we don't want to put it in a container, we can always give it this way. Or maybe you could have one of these at each table setting in your home if you're hosting Christmas dinner at your house, and then everyone could take their candles home to burn them. Remind them to take the decoration off of these before they burn them. You don't want anything catching on fire. This is only decorative for gift giving, and then we're going to remove it. You're going to use some regular hot glue here so that you can easily pop that off for when they want to use it. And then I'm just going to embellish it a little bit with some of that snowy greenery and the little pine cones. Then we can cut the tails, we can dovetail them, or we can cut them in a slant. And I'm going to cut them again to make sure that they're as short as I would like for them to be. I don't want them dragging on the table. So just trim. It's easier to cut a little bit more later than to start off cutting too short. Okay? One more pine cone here, and this one will be ready. Cute. Oh, they smell so good. I can't even explain to y'all how wonderful they smell. Yum. All right, now let's wrap these candles. We're going to leave the other one as it is, but we're going to wrap this one actually. So I'm just putting this in a little mesh bag. You can sometimes find these at Dollar Tree. I'm not entirely sure where I got this bag. Either they were donated to me or I got them at Goodwill. I'm not sure. I did have some ladies recently donate some things to me, so I'm not entirely sure. We're just going to tie this in a bow. That's very simple, isn't it? If you want to stop there, you can. And this is how it would look. But if you want to add a little more of that woodland kick, we're going to add a tiny ornament. And you can get some, I think about this size at Dollar Tree, some little mini ornaments. And then we're going to cut another piece of that same branch. So we're really stretching our money here. And we're going to add it on this side. And I think that it is ready and perfect for gift giving. Now we're going to do a winter bird sign from a card. I've used cards before. We're going to do it again. Okay, so here is that pic. Here's a beautiful Christmas card. Use one you already have or one you've just bought. And then we have this frame from Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the paper and I'm just going to pull that straight off of there. I'm not worried about the screws, and I'm not putting this back on because this will be the back. We're going to use this as the front. Take off your sticker, and then you are going to want to sand around the entire thing to make sure there's no extra glue on there. There's nothing that's going to get in the way. You're going to give it as a gift. You want to take the extra time to make it perfect for gift giving. So sand it off, wipe it down, and then we'll prepare the card. What I'm doing now is just bending over and creasing that card. Just pushing down over that edge. You can put it on the edge of the table, but you won't be able to see me, so I decided to do it this way. You can also add a dot of water to that line to make it come apart easily. I've decided to take some of my Adirondack white and go around all of the edges where the card is not going to reach. And then let that dry. That's going to kind of make it look like this is all one piece rather than giving it brown background. But you can certainly leave it that way if you chose to do it that way. Options, options, right? You want to make sure that it is completely dry. I'm using my little drying tool here. Once it is dry and cool, I'm going to take that Mod Podge and go all over, not only the square that is brown, but also all over the white so that our card has enough to stick to. And you want to add enough on here that it is going to cling to the card. You can also put a layer on the back of your card and stick them together. You don't see me doing that, but I actually do that. Okay, I'm trying to find my center. And I'm going to press it down. I'm pulling just a little bit to get it into place. And then I'm going to press it with my hands, and then I'll use my squeegee and my roller to get it in all attached, both sides of the glue. All right. Once it is dry, I'm going to go back in with that same, I'm just using the dishwasher Mod Podge because I already had it out. But you can use the other kind because this is not going to be getting wet. I'm going to go over all of the edges, the bottom, the sides, and I also go over the little part that is the bottom that is holding this together. I'll go over that as well. I'm going to cover the back with craft paper. Then I'm going to start putting some details on here. This little sign is going to be the perfect thing for possibly a nursing home. If you know someone who's in the hospital during the holiday season and could use a little pick-me-up, you could do something like this. It does not take up a lot of room. It could easily sit in a hospital window. It could easily sit on a bedside table. Things like this matter, and you giving back matter at holidays. There's lots of people who have no family that visit them, and this is a very sweet way to just say, I was thinking about you, I love you, and I wish you a Merry Christmas. If you choose not to use the words Merry Christmas, well then pick any card that you like. If it's Hanukkah, go ahead and grab a Hanukkah card. You can use anything, Kwanzaa, you can use Happy Holidays. No judgment here. You use whatever works for you and the one you're giving it to. I think this is a very quick, beginner-friendly gift that anyone would like to receive. Here are the projects that we did today that are perfect for giving gifts. So I have this as 5 projects, but actually we also do wrapping on 2 of them, and we do a little bit of something extra on 1 of them. So I hope that this is going to give you some ideas of how you can spend a little less money to still be generous in the holiday season. Look at the beautiful lantern. If you don't like those colors, you can certainly change it to whatever your theme is or the person that you're giving to. Remember that November is our Subscriber Appreciation Month. Be sure that you hit that little bell so that you get notifications if you happen to be a winner. I'd love for you to participate in the giveaways that we are doing this year. I love to give back. You know, when you have, you give. That's the way it should be. And because you have blessed my life so much with the comments and the kindness and sharing with me, and we're going to start off with a handful of supplies that I thought I might need. So this came from Dollar Tree. It is some decorative cording or ribbon. Got some plastic candy cane ornaments, some ribbon. This one is wired, but you can certainly use non-wired because that's what I ended up using. It's a candy cane bag from Dollar Tree. Did I say candy cane? Candy cane bag from Dollar Tree. And this was with their Christmas. And this was a canvas painting that I got at the thrift store, and I peeled off the canvas part. And I will in a moment take my pliers and get the rest of it off. I'm going to use a piece of foam board also. This is going to be the backing for our bag to give it some sturdiness. So I'm just using a little utility knife. I've measured it against my frame, and I'm cutting off the back. We're not ready to glue quite yet because we've got to do some work on the bag. Take the hanger out by pressing the plastic back through that hole on each side, and you're going to use that handle as a hanger on the back, so just set it aside. Go ahead and cut along the trim of that, or the outside of that, so you get a nice big flat picture. I want to kind of eyeball this to make sure that it is somewhat in the center, so I'm just getting an idea of where center would be, so when I put my frame on it I can see my candy cane border. Using this glue stick, I'm going to cover the back nice and evenly. The most important, I feel like, would be the outsides and the edges so that it doesn't peel up. And you can see on the corner, the left bottom, where I made a little boo-boo when I was cutting, but that's okay. That happens when you're crafting. We're not going to throw the entire thing away just because there's one little rough spot. We can work with that. So I'm just pressing it down with my hands, and then I'm using my wooden ruler to make sure that it is pressed evenly down to the surface of that foam board. I decided to use this trim to go around the edges to just kind of clean up where I've made my cut marks. This is a plasticky or coated type cord, so it will easily, the glue will kind of seep through the little openings in it, so be sure that you protect your fingers. Then I just want you to see how you turn the corner there. This type of trim works really well for that. It'll lay nice and flat for you in the corners. It kind of looks like gingerbread house trim, doesn't it? So if you're working on something that's gingerbread theme, or doing some projects with gingerbread, you might consider picking some of this up from Dollar Tree if it's still there, because it's a cute little decorative trim, I think. Here is some Fix All adhesive that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to put that on first in a couple of spots around the edges, and then I'm going to use my glue gun, because a glue gun will give a quick seal, and then the Fix All will make it more permanent. So see, once I put the frame down, you can't even see the trim on the sides. That is okay. Alright, so I'm going to use that bag hanger, put some glue down, put a little piece of scrap paper on top to make our hanger. Here's an option for you if you don't like the plain wood, you want to zhuzh it up a bit. You can use some ribbon and just turn the corners and glue it down so you have a frame on top of your frame with a color. Or you can use a little piece of decorative greenery and a bow. My little piece of greenery came off of a vintage bell, so this was on the top of it, but I thought it would look good since we have holly and the berries on the candy cane picture, so it makes it perfect. I'm going to show you two different bows. First one we're going to do is like I think they call it a shoelace bow. Very simple. This ribbon I have is probably 1.5 inches, maybe 1 inch, and it has no wire in it. It's a ribbon that I like the color of, I like the polka dots, but it's just not that easy for me to work with in layered or stacked bows, so I thought it would be good for these simple bows. I'm trying to use it for my Christmas decor. So there's the first bow. You can do it that way and trim it up, or protecting your fingers, take a length of ribbon, this was about 8 inches, double it on itself, make a loop, and then make a tail. I made this bow recently in another project. I think it was the candy cane. Yeah, I think it was the candy cane. And then we're going to just put that underneath, stack that on top. We're going to use a piece of green pipe cleaner, just because the green coordinates, but you don't have to. You can use any color. You're going to cover it up with your greenery. You could also tie it with some jute, or you can use some floral wire here. Just hold that tightly and twist it so that it doesn't slip out, and that you can adjust your bow just a little bit. And trim off that piece in the back and decide where you want to put that, in the center or on the side. And I like the side, so I'm just going to put it right there. A little bit of hot glue, press the bow down so that it has some grip into that glue that'll hold it. And then I'm going to trim the back off of here, add a little glue to it, and put it right in the center. Rather than dovetailing, I want to show you something else you can do to trim up your bow, and that's just cutting it at an angle. Just to show you here, you can see where the trim is under there. You can always stain this wood. It's just raw wood. If you want to have a darker frame, you can certainly do that. You can paint it. You can use some chalk paint or acrylic paint to make it whatever color you would like for it to be. For me personally, I think that the raw wood is a nice touch. What do you think about these Dollar Tree bags? Have y'all been using those in projects yet? They are really handy, and they make some beautiful high-end looking signs.
The next project is going to be a joy ornament sign. I've got a variety of ribbons and trim. Then I've got some little pieces of greenery, some little galvanized lettering here, and they actually have joy, and they were on clearance at Hobby Lobby. Then I've got an automotive cloth from Dollar Tree and this sign from Dollar Tree. So I've taken the packaging off of the piece of fabric. This is so soft. I'll flip it over and then kind of pat it out so I don't have any wrinkles. I'm going to clip right around the top where it hangs, and then leaving about a ½ inch excess all the way around. And you do not have to make this super neat. Just be sure you give yourself plenty of room so that you can glue on the back. You can always cut the excess off, but you can't put it back, right? Not without it being noticeable. So, making sure I didn't squish anything out of place, I'm going to put it back in the center where it belongs, and then begin gluing it down. I'm going to work from side to side instead of doing it all on one side, because I have found that if I go side to side, I'm able to make up the slack if there's too much on one side or if you don't have enough on the other side. So just work side to side, adding the glue and pushing it forward, kind of smearing it down into that paint and over onto the back of this ornament, because this is the back. Add some more glue right across from that section. Press it down. You're squishing that line down, and it's really gripping between the fabric and the wood when you do it this way. Then going back over to this side, I'm going to lay that down and pat it down. Same process, coming over to this side and doing the same thing. Have y'all tried working with these wood ornaments? I've had this one. I don't think I got it this year. I think I got it last year. And then it occurred to me, I've never seen anybody put the automotive cloth on here. And it is so pretty and comfy. And I just love the look of it. So many options here with this. So you're going to continue all around. And there's a little give in here. So like I did need to pull it a little bit. Moving it around, it sometimes will lose its place. So just continue around there with the glue, add it where you need it, and then what I will go back and do is trim off the bigger pieces, and then you can cover the back with paper if you would like. I'm going to take those galvanized pieces and put them down on here. Now I know Dollar Tree has sort of, I think they are ornaments or something that you use for stockings. So they have letters, but I think they're wood and probably some plastic. You can certainly use that if you don't have the galvanized. The galvanized still looks rustic to me. I know it also is kind of a farmhouse thing, but I think it still looks more rustic, and that's the look I go for in my house. So I started off by just adding greenery to the top left side, but I do go back in there and balance it out later. I'm going to take some of this gorgeous ribbon from Hobby Lobby. This I got for 60% off. Had to have some more Santa face. Couldn't find any at Walmart or Dollar Tree. Certainly not this quality. So I thought that he would look great on here. He's got that very nice vintage look. So I took 18 inches, folded it in half so that we have, we're working with 9-inch across. So there's going to be 2 loops on the left and 2 loops on the right, and then we'll cut the extra off. We will not have a tail on this bow. 2 here, 2 here. You can lay that down. We're going to go to the next ribbon. This one I'm going to make 16 inches. Fold it in half, that makes 8 inches. So your bow all the way across will be 8 inches. Just folding it here. And then I'm going to flip this one over on itself too, the same way we did the other one. So easy, until I have 2 loops on each side. Again, no tail. We're going to just cut this off. I'm going to cut a piece of this thin silver looking thread. It is wired, believe it or not. It's really strange, but if I'd have known that, I've been using this a lot more in my Christmas projects. I'm just folding it in half so that I can get kind of the center. Then I'm going to flip it over on that string. And then I'm going to kind of push the center together and pull it. So I'm going to do 2 knots. I just hold it in place with my thumb so nothing slips. You can see that that is definitely wired. Then you can start fluffing out your bow. Originally I left those strings on there because I thought maybe I would tie it to the top, but I decided against that. So I went ahead and I do cut those off. I'm gonna pull out my sections so that there will be 4 of the white or the silver, and there will be 4 of the Santa Claus. I'm gonna take these little pieces that are on the inside, and those will be somewhat like a short tail. It's gonna give a little more interest. I'm gonna cut those in dovetails, both of them. Remember, when you're working with wired ribbon, you really have more control. You can move things around and put them where you like them. So I love wired ribbon. Then I'm trimming the back off. I'm gonna make a little flat spot back there where I can add some glue and push it down into the glue. So the glue is going right on the little stem area there, sort of overlapping onto that branch. I'm going to press it down and then just grab a clamp to hold it in place while I fluff the bow or work on something else. And when it's dry, you can take it off. I found a bell. Now these are aged looking bells, and my galvanized looks a little too clean. So I'm going to take some of this antique wax. I'm going to offload it and then just lightly go across my letters. You definitely want to do this before, but again, I didn't know I was going to use the bell, so I had no clue that I, should have been painting first. But I didn't think I was going to paint. So I'm going to be very, very careful when I go over here so that I don't get it all over that white fabric. And I do make a little mess down there, but it's okay. I think I disguise it in a little while pretty well. So here's another piece I've added onto that side. And the bow is a little off center. That's okay, I like that. And then on the high areas, I'm going to add some of that Mod Podge. Once that wax is dry, just going to kind of messily, sloppily put it on there. Sloppily, is that a word? I'm going to put it on there. And then when we sprinkle the snow on it, it'll sit down in each one of those little nooks and crannies. So that's what I have in my hand, is that little snow mixture that I made. And I'm just going to shake it all over there. And remember, the more Mod Podge you use, the more it's going to stick. You can just take out any clumps. I'm just kind of going through there, knocking the clumps down. And I think that looks cute, but now I think we need a little on the bell. So I'll add some more what was left in the brush and then put right on the top of that bell. And I think it's a really cute look. Fluff that bow, make it look beautiful. All right, the next one is a gift bag sign. I love Dollar Tree gift bags, and some of the ones they do are just absolutely gorgeous. They look like artwork. So I'm going to choose a bag. I'm using this is a 12 by 12 thrifted sort of a box sign, I guess you would call it. It's hollow in the middle. I'm going to use some more of my Mod Podge and a brush. It is clean, by the way, it's been wiped down. And I'm going to choose a white paint that looks good with the bag. And a little dauber brush, a little sponge brush. And then I'm going to lay it on top to see how I need to measure this, where I want to cut it. You can certainly use another technique if you would like to, but this to me seemed like it made a little more sense because I knew exactly how much of the picture I wanted to put on here. So I'm just going to trace around it now that I have the box on there. And I'm just going to kind of roughly cut it out and off the bag to get that out of the way. And now I have an extra one to use for another project, so you get 2 for 1 in this. Now this is like a creamy background, like a creamy grayish, I guess you could say, but it needs to be white to really look nice with this bag. So I'm just going to use a technique that I did recently on some bells to get this a little bit of texture. You can paint with a white brush if you would like, but if you use acrylic paint and you kind of use this dabbing method, you don't have to use quite as much paint, and it gives a really nice coverage and finish. When that's dry, we'll move on to the Mod Podge, and I'm going to add a pretty thick layer because this is a gift bag which has a thicker texture than craft paper, and it almost has like a shiny or laminated type finish. Kind of hard to explain, but be sure you get that glue everywhere on there and try to get it as flat and neat as you can. Put your picture back on, your bag on, and then just press it out from the inside out. The reason I didn't use my squeegees this time and I'm just using my hand is because there are some spots that have glitter and I don't want to scrape the glitter off because it's really subtle and pretty. Now using a sanding block or an emery board, I'm going to go to my edges and then just start filing down and away. So down and away, down and away. This may take off some of your paint that you just put on. That is fine. The look that I'm going for is going to be that raw edge. So I'm going to do this all over this box until I get it all nice and clean. And it'll almost look like this was painted on. Be nice and smooth. Love that edge look. And this is how it's going to look once you get that done. Paint is all dry. We've got our nice edges here. And I want to add something on it, almost make it look like it's a Christmas gift. So I'm going to take some of this silly ribbon that I got from Dollar Tree, and I haven't been able to use it on anything else. And I'm just going to double it up, wrap it around all the way up to the top, and then I'm going to make a little bow on the top. 2 loops, wrap them around each other, tuck one on the inside, and pull. Then you can just pull your folded part out, pull it over, and then you can adjust the loops and the tails as long as you like them so that they are balanced and equal and they are twisted into the right position. And you can get a better look at a different angle. I'm going to cut these off the same length, and then I'm going to go ahead and dovetail them. I don't want anything hanging down and obscuring the beautiful artwork that is on there. But this still gives it a little interest, and I think it looks cute. It'll be sitting up somewhere as a decoration, and I think it's cute. We're going to hold that bow in place with just a little bit of hot glue. And it'll be very easy to take off. So if you were to make this for a gift, they could easily remove the bow. This is how it looks. think my kids are going to love it though. There's the Joy ornament sign. And then we used just a gift bag on this box sign. Isn't that a neat way to save money? And we still have supplies left that you could make other projects with. Very nice, and that is a win in my book. I want to take the opportunity now to thank you all for subscribing to my channel and helping the channel grow. I thank you for your comments, your likes, your shares. Every bit of that helps the channel to grow, and that helps me to keep putting out creative ideas for y'all, saving money, showing you how to save money. And I think that's important to all of us. Budget-friendly DIYs that are different, that will bring you joy, that reflect how you feel and what makes you happy. That's what it's all about. Ladies and gents, thank you for the coffees. Thank you for the happy mail. It is always a surprise. It's never expected and always appreciated.
Okay, DIY number 1 is going to be made with a Dollar Tree gift bag. They have a gorgeous variety of red truck and rustic looking bags for you to choose from. So you're going to pick some ribbons, you're going to choose your bag, and then my sign here is something that I got from dirt cheap. I paid $1 for it. Can you believe it? So you're going to need something about that size to put your bag on. Alright, these handles will just feed back through. They have a little plasticky thing on them. We're going to repurpose one of those handles, so you're going to keep that for later. And also use that little tag for something else. I'm cutting off a plastic hanger, and then I'm going to begin cutting out my picture. The color is gorgeous. There's no glitter on this bag. And then I'm going to measure and trim out where I need to cut it. Just using a pencil. Take off the edges. We want this to fit from side to side. There is going to be room on the top and the bottom, and that is all right with me because I have a solution for that. I got a pile of these beautiful bags. They're different. Oh, they're so pretty. I'm going to be doing more projects with these, so thumbs up and comment below if you would like to see more projects done with these bags. You're not going to believe how this turns out. Put it across the top edge and the bottom edge. Instead of having a frayed edge poking out there, I've made it long enough so that it will overlap and we can put it on the back side. Now using the glue stick, which is a clean option, which was getting a little chunky on me there, wanted to show you. Not a problem, we're just going to press it down and keep moving. You get your project down on your, press it down. You don't want any air under there, and I'm using my wooden ruler to make sure that it is pressed all the way down. Now the holes at the top where the handles were, we're just going to take a white metallic marker or a blue or a chalk marker, there we go, and you're just going to fill in those little holes. So I'm using my sanding block from Dollar Tree and taking the edges off. Okay, so just in case I knocked anything loose with all that, I went ahead and pressed it back down. I'm going to take another piece of ribbon to put over the edge, and this is one of those lace ribbons. This is not in the holiday sections, it's in the regular crafting section. Red plaid ribbon, that might be pretty for this as well, and you don't have to have a wired ribbon, but you certainly can use one. I'm going to center this between the ribbon and the border of the picture and just use a couple of little dots of hot glue to put it down, leaving those ends a little bit long so that I can wrap them around the back for a nice clean finish. Trim off any extra that you have. Now it's time for my wooden stickers. And they do have a little plastic on the back that you peel off before you put them down. When I bought these, I saw that there was a chipped piece here. It was still hanging on by the fibers of the wood. I went ahead and tried to patch that with a chalk marker, and it did help with a little disruption in the color there. Now you got to find the positioning here where you want your letters to be. This pack came from Target last year, and I got it from dirt cheap. You can use any type of sticker that you want to use. Since this is kind of a large sign though, you are going to need larger letters just to balance it. If you're good with hand lettering or painting, you can certainly do that here. So I didn't measure out to get the exact center of this because that's really not something that I wanted to do this time. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And you got more of the same here. Those were the easy pieces. Now time for the little, a bit more complicated to get these pieces down, but that is not a problem. I would never ever be comfortable enough to just peel those off and stick them down randomly. There's no way. But if you put them down on there first, you can get an idea of where you want them to be. So I call this a dry run. Kind of see how I want them spaced. So these little wood stickers also have the same adhesive on the back, little sticker backing. Just going to peel them off and try to put them back in the same spot that I found them. Luckily, one of those bag handle holes was covered by the welcome sign. And again, don't worry if you don't have the stickers. Use whatever stickers you have. I think it's pretty with the different fonts though. I really like that, how that turned out. Okay, so you see where it's broken on the bottom? I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue and just patch it. Not a problem. I'm not going to stress. I'm not going to throw it away and start over. Nope. I'm going to use a little stick, put a dot of glue on it, and I'm going to patch it up until it is set up like it should be. There you have it. A bag, a Dollar Tree bag. Is this not the most super high-end looking sign of a red truck that you have ever seen? I'm telling you, you could definitely go to Hobby Lobby and spend possibly $39, $40 on a sign this size with this much detail going on in it. We did it for just a few dollars. Yep, we sure did. I'm going to use the handle that was already on the bag, and I am going to use this tag. Cut this down. This is going to be the paper that I use to patch over where I put my glue. Gluing it down, and the paper on top of the glue just secures it down so that nothing moves. Everything stays right where it needs to be. We're going to do the same thing on the side. I know that it's not level on the back, but it will hang fine.